mother texted me.
Excellent. Alrighty, I think we're live, so I'll pass things over to you folks and I'll hide myself. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Dr. Heath Macmillan. I'm a professor in the Department of Biology, and I'm joined today by Kathy Cullingham, who you should be able to see as well, another professor in the Department of Biology. What we're going to do today is we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit and who we are and why we're here to tell you about our department and about our programs in biology. Then we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect to get out of a degree within the biological sciences. At the bottom of this slide, you can see some links. There's a link to the biology webpage where a lot of the information we're going to be talking about today, as well as some other stuff, all available to you to check out there. Tons of extra information beyond what we're going to talk about today. We also have an Instagram page for our department there and a Twitter handle. If you use those areas of social media, feel free to dive in and connect with us through there. Okay, so who are we? First, as I said, my name is Dr. Heath Macmillan. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Biology. I run a lab that works on insect physiology, and I also teach a couple of our core courses in the Department of Biology. So that's a second year animal form and function, and a fourth year adaptations to extreme environments, so how things live in really crazy places. And we're also joined by Dr. Kathy Cullingham, another assistant professor in the Department of Biology who teaches introductory genetics in second year and population genetics at the fourth year level. So a little more about me. As I said, I run a lab. My lab is a group of people, many of them undergrads that are in programs like those you're interested in today. And we're interested in how things like stressors like temperature set limits to how animals are able to survive and what decides whether or not an organism can live in one place versus another, or why does it die when it's exposed to too extreme of a temperature. We do this by measuring things at a number of different levels in how animals are organized, or levels of biological organization. So we're often interested in some stress like temperature in the bottom left there and how it affects things happening below the cellular level in an animal. And then we ask questions about how those changes happening at that level kind of cascade up to more higher levels of organization. So how cells function, how organs function, and ultimately how the organism functions as well. So, put simply, we're interested in kind of how some stressor like temperature affects these different organs, right? And very technical names coming up here. But we're also interested in how those organs interact with each other, because they're all kind of in the same goop. They're all in the same hemolymph, which is an insect's blood. And this can determine, whether or not an organism can live in a certain region, or how it responds to things like climate change or other anthropogenic stressors, things like pollution, that sort of thing. So we do this in regards to temperature. We're also asking questions right now about other things like microplastics and how microplastics are affecting insects in our natural environments through them eating them, essentially. And we're also interested in how we can make agriculture better, specifically in regards to insects as food and feed. So it's becoming more and more popular that people are eating insects all over the world as a source of protein. So we're working with a farming company trying to figure out ways of making insects grow faster and be more nutritious to humans. So as I said, we're also joined by Kathy Cullingham. So Kathy, please take it away and allow some time to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Heath. Hey, everyone. I am relatively new at Carleton. I started in 2019, and I've established a lab that focuses on using genomics to understand pests, plants, and pathogens. And what my lab does is we use genetic information on the individuals to try and understand all sorts of different questions in biology. So we're looking at connectivity of individuals across the landscape. We're looking at disease spread and how genetic variation might influence disease spread. We're looking at hybridization, as well as trying to identify disease resilience and resistance. You could think of my lab as kind of a 23andMe for wildlife rather than humans. Next slide, Heath. And one of our primary systems that we work on is the mountain pine beetle system. Many of you may not have heard of it because it is a pest that affects the western forests of Canada, not the eastern forests of Canada. But it is a major forest pest, and it has kind of invaded into the boreal forest a bit in Alberta, and there is a potential for it to spread across the country. And so my lab is looking at the trees to try and understand whether there are genetic variants that make them more resilient to the bug. So you can see in this picture here, in the foreground, there's green and red trees. So those red trees have been attacked by the beetle and they're dead, and the green trees weren't attacked. So we're trying to understand whether there's genetic differences between the trees that make them more or less susceptible to the bug. And this is a picture from Jasper National Park in 2019. And so it's definitely had a lot of impacts out west, and there is a potential for eastern spread. So my lab's really interested in understanding how it might spread. And so we're looking at the tree as well as genetics of the beetle. And then the other system I work on, next slide, is on chronic wasting disease. This is one that I've worked on for quite a while. And this, again, is a more Western focused disease. It is a prion disease of deer. So if you've heard of mad cow disease or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, this one's specific to cervid species. And it is the only prion disease that is transmissible in the wild. And so people who hunt deer could get exposed to this disease. And so my lab is looking at, what kind of genetic risk factors are there, and can we predict what species might be susceptible to this disease and how it might spread on the landscape? So a lot of really applied work, but always using genetic methods.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kathy. So, we introduce ourselves in part here just to give you a sense of who we are and what we do, but also give you a small window into the kind of stuff that's going on in our department of biology. And Kathy and I are really just a small representation of the people who are in our department doing amazing science in molecular biology and in health, in genetics, in all sorts of different areas of biology. And I'm going to give you an overview later in the talk of some of that variation, some of the amazing things people are doing within our department. So if you're here and you're listening to us today, you're interested in biology as a career and thinking about doing biology work for the rest of your life potentially. And I think it's important to recognize that right now is a really critical time to be thinking about this. And I think that there's never been a better time really to decide to be a biology student, because we're facing a number of different challenges, but also a number of different opportunities within biology lately. Number one, now is a time of really amazing transformative techniques coming out. And one that you might be aware of, you might have heard of in the news, is CRISPR. So CRISPR is a gene editing technology that allows us as humans to manipulate the genome or the genes of organisms that are living on this planet, including ourselves. And this creates all kinds of interesting opportunities, for example, in solving health challenges. But it also comes with a lot of interesting ethical concerns, and that's a big area of discussion. It's also a time where we face a huge advance in our ability to do computing, and we're dealing with larger and larger and larger data sets within biology. So we need people in biology not only that understand biological systems, but also can apply these big data techniques to address some of these questions that our minds are not capable of addressing unless we simplify them down using incredible things like machine learning. We also face, huge global challenges right now. I mean, one that's obvious to us right now is the COVID-19 pandemic, but at the same time we're facing, global warming, climate change where we have changes in the external environment putting immense stress on organisms in that environment. And we also have increasingly larger and larger global populations, and we're facing challenges with global food security. So we need new ideas and new people coming in with different ideas to be able to solve these kinds of crises. In biology, if you're interested in biology at Carleton, you might have looked at the undergraduate calendar or looked at the listings of programs within biology. And I want to say it can be a little bit overwhelming. We have a lot of different programs within biology. And part of why you might be here, and one of the questions you might have is, which program is really the one that's right for me? That's a hard question to answer in a big group like this, but we encourage you to get in touch with the biology department or with us and kind of tell us about your interests so that we can help you to make that decision. As you can see, we have our BSc honors at the top of this list. We also have honors with concentrations in these different areas of biology. We have bioinformatics, we have options with co-op, we have biology and biotechnology, and And there's a number of also connections to the Biochemistry Institute as well, with programs in there. We also have combined honors and BA programs where you're doing biology as well as physical geography, or biology as well as earth sciences. One of the main messages I want to get across today is really that, for a lot of these programs, first year is going to look really similar. In first year, our science students, regardless of what area they're in, take core courses in biology, in chemistry, in physics, and math or some sort of computational methods in order to get a basic grounding within the sciences, because all of these different topics all relate to each other, right? Biology involves chemistry, and it's useful to have a background knowledge in chemistry as well as physics. And at the same time, in first year, you'll be taking arts and social science options to kind of broaden your perspective and get some interesting ideas from these other areas. Beyond first year, things start to become more specialized. So after that first year, you've got that basic foundational knowledge of these different areas. You've learned about all the different areas within biology, and you start specializing your own education as you go through. So in third and fourth year, especially, there's really a lot of advanced courses you can take with quite narrow topics, right? So they might be specifically human anatomy and physiology, or animal behavior, population genetics, or landscape ecology. As I mentioned, my fourth year course is adaptations to extreme environments. So these courses allow you to kind of specialize in whatever area you're most interested in. And the stuff that happens early in your degree, in first year in particular, really sets you up with the foundational understanding that you need to get there. So what we've done in biology is created these at-a-glance documents. You should be able to access these online, and if you can't, we can find them for you. I think they're hosted on our biology website right now. But these give you kind of an overview of what I'm talking about. So they break it down from left to right here, from first year up to fourth year. And you can see how in first year we have those core biology, chemistry, math, and some sort of physics or computational computer science options there. And then in second year, we start to get into courses that are a little more specialized. So a course specifically on animal form and function, a course specifically on plant form and function. Some of these are required or come from lists that you need to take a certain number of these courses. And then as you get into third and fourth year, you're really picking and choosing which ones you're really interested in. You'll also notice there's this kind of red region down in the bottom right here. So this is our fourth year honors project, or a capstone project that kind of caps off your whole degree. So this is practical experience in a real working lab doing real cutting edge science. So this is where you're paired up, in the case of biology 4907 or 4908, you're paired up with a faculty member who's doing research, and you're given your own independent project within their lab to complete within that year. There are options to get into labs on campus before that. So to the left of that red box there are biology 3901 and 4901. These are directed special studies courses that get you into a lab doing some of this research even earlier. And also all of these, throughout your degree, not all of them, but a very large number of these courses have practical experience in labs as well. Okay, so this is kind of our BSc honors, kind of broad program perspective, but we also have other programs that are, somewhat different, as I mentioned, and we have some at-a-glance documents for those ones as well that you can check out. So in this case, we're looking at bioinformatics. You'll notice that in first year on the left-hand side, you're seeing a lot of the same courses. So biology, chemistry, physics, math, and in the case of bioinformatics, the only difference is that you're expected to have math as well as computer science in that case. And then in second year, it gets more specialized, and we have specific required courses within this more specialized degree program. So the important thing to take away from this, and again, here's biology and biotechnology, is that with these kind of core elements in first year, you're not in an immediate rush to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life if you're coming into a biology program. If you're excited about biology and you're interested in these topics, you can come in first year and then decide within first year, what it is you are most interested in and where you want to go with the rest of your degree. You're not necessarily stuck with what you choose in the first case. Okay, so once you're here, what is it you're doing? Well, you're taking these courses, you're getting experience, you're gaining knowledge in biology, But what we want to focus on as well is not just, things that you're learning, facts that you're learning along the way, but skills that you're developing along the way as well. So what does a biology degree actually mean for you? Well, it means that you're learning how to engage in critical thinking and drawing conclusions. You're learning how experiments are designed and how to make good experiments that give us, reliable information, how to collaborate with others, how to make observations, how to manage your time and plan ahead, how to work with computers and develop your skills in computer literacy or data analysis, how to think creatively, right? Think outside the box, how to ask questions and communicate with other people. These are soft skills, you can say, that you're gaining along the way that are really important, not just to getting your degree, but to being successful in the real world once you leave. So how do you motivate yourself internally and become a really effective communicator and scientist beyond your undergraduate degree? Along the way, you're going to encounter a number of biology faculty and staff. And I want to talk a little bit about our approach to teaching before I talk about some research that's going on in the department. We have a number of extremely talented educators within biology. I wanted to put a spotlight here on Dr. Martha Mullally, who has recently become the Carleton University Chair in Teaching Innovation because of her expertise and her skills in delivering evidence-based teaching. So we're really interested in biology of using facts and data to understand what are the best approaches to teaching so that students who are going through our courses are learning as much as they possibly can. So we have a number of instructors whose focus is entirely on teaching several of our courses, and we have people who are researchers as well as instructors teaching many of our courses, like Kathy and I as well. Michael Runts is an award-winning naturalist, does a lot of work in Algonquin Park, who's an instructor at Carleton. Kaylin Brzezinski on the right is one of our lab coordinators. So we're lucky in biology to have lab coordinators who are dedicated to running our undergraduate labs. It's their sole focus, and they take it extremely seriously. So one of the things we do is we're interested in kind of best practices in teaching. So I wanted to kind of give you an example of what this looks like and how we're embracing new technology within our department in teaching. One of the things, there's countless tools for education out there now, and we have to kind of pick and choose as instructors which ones we think are most effective and useful. One that I use in my second year course that I think is really effective is technology called Poll Everywhere. Which is a website where you can have questions and anonymous submission of answers from anybody in the audience. So if we're teaching, we can ask questions not only about the content to see how students are understanding it, but also student experience and how people feel about the way the course is going or about their own kind of experience in the course. So what I want to do, I'm just going to switch up what I'm sharing here. To bring up a Poll Everywhere. Okay, and at the top of this page, you should be able to see this now. At the top of this page, you can see here a link that says pollev.com/animalsprof. If you go to that link, you should see this active question available to you there, and you should be able to respond to it live while we're here. So we can ask questions like this, whether or not students are feeling okay, how's everybody coming into the class feeling? And you can see some people who are joining us today are feeling a little sleepy, others are feeling happy. So you can gauge how everyone is doing when they're coming in to a class, for example. We can also ask questions specifically about content within the class to test whether or not people are actually, engaging with the content while we're talking about it in class and learning the lessons that we're focused on. So an example of this, if we were talking about the structure of the human heart, we might ask students, where is the left ventricle? Where is that structure located? Did everyone understand what we were just talking about in class, and have they figured it out? Does anyone want to hazard a guess while we're live here?
That's not active on mine.
That's not active. Oh.
No, the first one was.
I have to click activate. There we go.
There you go.
Not sure why it turned off. It doesn't usually. There we go. We've got some guesses coming up, and we're all over the map, right? You can look it up on Google later. Okay, so we can ask that sort of question where there's clicking. We can also ask things that are to gauge overall, what does everyone think about a certain topic? So in this case, we have an example of something like a midterm or an exam question where we're asking students to kind of pick which of these four multiple choice options they think best describes an organ. And then lastly, the last one I wanted to share here is to actually allow students within a class to reflect on information. One of the most important ways for us to learn as humans is to engage in what we call metacognition. So thinking about what we thought about something and engaging with the material that way. So reflecting on a midterm and asking, whether or not students in the class thought that what was on the midterm accurately reflected what was actually discussed in the classroom is important, not only for students to be able to reflect on their own performance on something and find new ways of engaging with material, but also for us as instructors to get important feedback about the way that we're presenting that material to students and asking questions on exams. Okay, so I'm going to switch back here to PowerPoint. All right. On top of dedicated teaching faculty, we have wonderful staff within our department. We're really lucky to have a great number of people contributing to the community that we have as a department on campus. One of those people I wanted to highlight here is Ed. Ed is our greenhouse manager in the Department of Biology, so he manages the wonderful greenhouses we have in the Nesbitt Biology building on campus. And if you come from the Ottawa area, you might be familiar with the fact that we run a butterfly show out of our department every year. So Ed, for many years now, has been running that butterfly show based solely off of donations from people, where he orders in these beautiful butterflies, raises them up, and releases them in the greenhouse for people to enjoy. And that's been running online for the last couple of years, but we're really looking forward to getting it back in person as soon as we're able to. So on top of our teaching focused faculty and our staff within the department, we have a number of world-class researchers working within the Department of Biology. So I wanted to go through a few people and some of the cool stuff that they do in their labs, so you can get a sense of, if you do a degree in biology, what you might be doing as a kind of capstone thesis project. So this is Dr. Jane Yak. Dr. Yak focuses on how animals communicate, and specifically how mainly how insects can hear sounds and respond to those sounds, and also create vibrations and sounds in an effort to communicate with other insects or sometimes other species or other groups of animals. Sorry. Dr. Bill Wilmore is an expert in hypoxia cell biology, so he does molecular biology of how organisms deal with a lack of oxygen, and how cells respond to that to prevent those cells from dying and under hypoxic stress. So that has an important implications in cancer. Often inside cancers, there's a lack of oxygen, but cancer cells are still able to survive. It's also interesting from a perspective of how animals or plants deal with a lack of oxygen in the air around them. Dr. Roz Dakin is an expert in biomechanics. So she does amazing experiments working mainly with hummingbirds and using really advanced high-speed cameras to watch how they fly, how they respond to obstacles, how they interact with their environment in order to fly at such rapid speeds, and how their brain is able to process that information. Really cool stuff. We have a number of award-winning faculty within our department. Two that I want to highlight here is Dr. Lenore Farrig and Dr. Ken Story. Both are fellows of the Royal Society of Canada, which is the highest honor a Canadian scientist can achieve. Dr. Farrig is a Chancellor's Professor at Carleton in biology. She focuses on landscape ecology and habitat fragmentation, so how our changes to environments, like putting through roads or putting in new areas for people to live, affects habitats for organisms living in those areas. Dr. Ken Story focuses on freeze tolerance, so how animals are able to survive their body fluids actually actively freezing in the winter, and how they adjust their metabolic rate to save energy in that state over the course of a winter. Really interesting stuff when it comes to applications towards space travel or preservation of organs if we're trying to ship organs across the world. Dr. Jenny Bruin is an expert in diabetes and islet cell biology. So she works on how diabetes works in mice and in human cells as well, and how different environmental pollutants might be causing or promoting diabetes in people. So whether or not chemicals that are being used in manufacturing processes or other areas might be contributing to this problem of diabetes. Dr. Bruce Mackay, who's our chair in biology, is an expert in DNA damage and gene expression and focuses on cancer and how instability in the genomic architecture might lead to cancers. On the side of the agriculture and environment kind of areas, we have Myron Smith, who's an expert in antimicrobials and fungal biology. So how bacteria and fungi are producing chemicals that actually can block other organisms from being alive. So really interesting biochemistry. Dr. Owen Rowland is an expert in plant biotechnology and how we can have new species or new variants of plants that are really able to survive in extreme drought. So how do we make plants that can survive when there's very little water? Or how do we create new plant oils, plants that produce oils that maybe have health benefits or something like that. We have experts in evolution and ecology. One of them, Kathy Cullingham, is joining us today. Another one here is Alex Wong, who's an expert in molecular evolution and bacterial genetics. So he focuses on antibiotic resistance, and that's a big growing problem within health right now, is that we have a number of bacteria that are causing health problems that are resistant to antibiotics, mainly because of overuse of antibiotics within our health systems. And how certain pathogens vary or evolve, usually with a kind of health focus on it. So these are just a few people within our department. There's many more than that I can't, we don't have time to highlight today. But one of the other things I want to kind of focus on is, these are core faculty that I'm talking about, people who spend all of their time in the biology buildings on campus and do the majority of interacting with our students. But we also within biology, and you can see this on our website, have a really wide array of adjunct faculty. So adjunct faculty are people who are employed in other areas. So they might be employed by government agencies or in potentially in industry, but have been hired on as faculty so that they can engage with students within our department. So one of the advantages we have being in Ottawa is that there's a number of especially government scientists who are adjunct faculty within our department. And this gives our students a number of opportunities to connect with these people and explore other areas of biology that maybe our core faculty aren't experts in. In the leftmost picture there, you have the National Wildlife Research Center, and the building that's directly attached to it, kind of going into the distance on the right side of the image, is our Nesbitt Biology building. So it's this is a government building that's directly attached to our biology building. So opportunities for collaborations and for undergrad projects that kind of bridge the gaps between government and academics really are all over the place. Directly across the canal from us, we have the Central Experimental Farm, which is a government research station for understanding agriculture within Canada. So a number of experts in a wide variety of areas that relate to agriculture that are based there. So one question you might have if you're interested in biology is, where is it going to get me? Where am I going to end up working? And really, that's sometimes a hard question to ask because it depends so much on what you're interested in. Biology is a really broad field, so there's a wide range of different directions people go. One that's common among students is that people are interested in going to further post-secondary education in specific fields, so going to medical school or pharmacy school or veterinary programs. But a lot of our graduates also work within government agencies. There's a wide array of government agencies you may not be aware of that hire biologists. So the NRC is one, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, the CFIA, Environment Canada. These all are different regions within government that hire people with biology degrees. There's also private research laboratories, so things like IBM and Argonne Labs and that sort of thing that hire biologists as well. And there's NGOs and other industry options. So you can work if you're interested in conservation, you can work as a conservation biologist working for a non-governmental organization or a not-for-profit organization. And of course, some biologists end up like Dr. Cullingham and myself as researchers and teachers and technicians and that sort of thing. So at this time, what I want to do is I'm going to end this show. If you have any other questions that you want to ask Dr. Cullingham and myself, please feel free to ask, and we'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions already that we can start addressing. A couple were you've addressed through the talk, the job opportunities and the kind of course structure. But co-op, the co-op program. So biology does have an opportunity for a co-op program. Generally, you do 3 work terms, I think, and you can start those work terms the summer after the second year. I don't know exactly how you find the work terms. I'm not as familiar with that. Maybe Heath, you can fill in some gaps.
There's a combination of different strategies, and I have, I'm not sure, Kathy, if you already shared the link, but there's, I do have a link for, I thought I had a link. No, but I can find it. The co-op office coordinates these. So there's a co-op office on campus that handles co-op throughout the entire university, not just biology. And sometimes, you know, certain companies or government organizations will go to our co-op office and say, we have these positions for students. But more often, those co-op opportunities are student driven because, you know, it really depends on what you're excited about and what you're interested in. And you can come forward with suggestions and ideas. You know, I would love to get a co-op opportunity working in you know, a facility that manufactures antibiotics or something like that. And then you can figure out, well, who would be relevant for that and recommend those. Thank you, Millie, for sharing the link there in the chat. So that's the link for the co-op office. All the information relating to co-op is there, and there's contacts there that you can reach out to ask more about the kind of the way co-op works.
And then there was a second question just about teaching methods, and it's not specific to biology, but what other teaching methods like flipped classrooms? And this is a great question because I'm finding during COVID that we've been teaching online. I'm teaching more in that style of a flipped classroom. So in my 4th year course right now, I'm giving them videos to watch on the theory, and I give them a problem set. And then on our live session, we go through the problem set. And so I think COVID has given us an opportunity to work and experiment more with the flipped classroom. It's kind of a forced experiment, but I think a lot of the students actually really like it. And I think it gives them more opportunity to practice the actual information that they're being given rather than just regurgitating information that we've been giving them. They're actually applying it and using it.
Yeah, it's a really great question. Flipped classroom is one example of a really neat approach. But there's so many different approaches that are being used now, and I learn new things constantly. And one of the people I mentioned there in the presentation, Martha Mullally, is someone who's, you know, formally trained in best practices for teaching and often inspires all kinds of great ideas. One of the things, you know, as you said, Kathy, the pandemic has kind of changed things and forced us to find better or new ways of doing things. That is one kind of nice thing that's come out of this, is a lot of collaboration among faculty for ideas of engaging in different ways. One that I took on in my 4th year class that's been really effective is I kind of embraced the fact that we were engaging online through Zoom, and I started working into assignments ways for students to engage with other scientists working all over the world. So we have this kind of global expert journal club assignment where students pick a paper from someone who's well outside of our reach normally, and they actually invite that guest into class. They give a presentation on their paper, and then they engage in a conversation, like an interview with that scientist about their experience with the work, as well as their general experience in science. And these people, these guests that we're inviting, are all early career scientists. So scientists all over the world who are maybe just finishing their PhD or doing a postdoctoral fellowship right after their PhD. And so students can then see themselves in that role. Maybe it might be a little bit closer to where they are rather than where we are as faculty. Yeah, great question. Any other questions coming up there?
I haven't seen any new ones yet.
Yeah, okay, so what's the outcome of the program in terms of job opportunities? As I was saying in the presentation, it's really a wide range. You know, I could give you an hour-long presentation of examples of people who have left our programs and done, you know, really interesting things. You know, there are people working at zoos. There are people working in government labs. There are people working as doctors and pharmacists. There, you know, can go on and on and on. So really, I think the question you need to ask yourself if you're thinking about going into a program in biology is think about what excites you and interests you most, and you can shape your program to help get you there, right? These different programs that we have or different courses that we have are all giving you a different skill set within biology, and biology is a really broad field. So don't, number one, don't think that you have to decide that now. But if you can, think ahead to at least try and narrow it down to what areas. You know, are you interested in conservation? Are you interested in health? You know, or are you interested in one area of biology versus another? Someone who gets experience in conservation biology, you know, could have a very different set of courses they took in their undergrad than someone who has a focus on microbiology, for example, or something like that. So, you know, use the opportunity and the time that you have within a program and a degree to actually, you know, be critical of these things and ask yourself, you know, is this getting me where I really want to go?
Yeah, and I know a number of our undergraduate students have actually come into our program from other programs at Carleton, and so they were in a non-biology program and they realized that that was really what they were passionate about once they got in the university level courses, and so
yeah,
you always have opportunities to change.
Yeah, and an undergraduate degree is for many people the time where you're kind of discovering who you are as a person and as a scientist. I went during my undergraduate degree. I started off in biology, then I went into business for one term, and then I went back into biology, and you know, decided that I actually was in the right spot after a while. And that's a super common path for people to just kind of jump around a little bit early on and figure out what's best for them.
Yeah, I think it's rare to have that, you know, feeling of exactly what you want to do when you start in first year. My initial thought was, I think I want to go into medicine, so I'm going to do a biology degree, and I chose molecular biology and genetics because I thought it was cool. And then I really got into the molecular biology and genetics, and even when I was finished my undergrad, I still wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. And then, you know, ended up doing a master's / PhD and just loved the research. And so we don't expect you to know exactly what you want to do. And for those of you that do, you are awesome.
Yeah, and you know, there's so many jobs you don't know exist, right? You can't know exist until you encounter them, and that's one of the things we often focus on, and also our one of the groups I didn't mention early on in the talk is our Carleton Undergraduate Biology Society, which is fantastic, which is a group of undergraduate students. It's an opportunity to socialize with other biology students by becoming a member of their society. But they also hold events, and some of these events are focused on things like, you know, getting people from areas of biology to do a roundtable discussion of different careers. So someone who's working in government or someone who's working in industry and discuss, you know, how they got where they are, because that's often how we learn about these different things that are out there. Okay, so I see the question that's up here is about the course structure for the honors in biology and biotech, which I think is one of those ones I had up. So I can bring up that slide again, because I kind of breezed over it a bit quickly. Let's see if I can do this. And there. Can you see that, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this is the kind of overall structure. The actual official Carleton academic calendar is the only place to get the real information about programs and how they're structured. We create these as a guide that are meant to just kind of help you wrap your head around these different programs. So it should reflect everything that's in the academic calendar, but this is not an official kind of version. So within the BSc Honors in Biology and Biotechnology, you would take a first year that's very similar to our general biology BSc Honors. So biology, chemistry, math, and then some credits within physics, math, computer science. And you can kind of choose which of those, and statistics as well, which of those you're kind of most interested in. The main thing about the biology and biotechnology program, more than anything else, is you have this core biotechnology set of courses that you're taking throughout the rest of your degree. So from second year all the way to fourth year, we have Biotechnology 1, Biotechnology 2, and then current topics in biotechnology. So that's, you can think of as kind of your most important course that you're taking through that's giving you that biotech perspective. Those courses are really creative and interesting courses. They focus on things that, range from, what is biotechnology, what are the different areas of biotechnology, all the way up to things like how do you market ideas? If you come up with ideas, how could you create your own company and actually bring these things to market? And that's partly why we have also some other things like including this business course here that's required in second year of our biology and biotechnology courses. That's on entrepreneurship. So really about marketing and how to bring things to market in that case. And then your biotech courses are helping to put that into a biology kind of perspective. You also have common core courses within biology. So that's your animals form and function, plant form and function, genetics, biochemistry, microbiology. These are all big classes with lots of people from different programs that take them. You're obligated to take organic chemistry. And then like the other degrees, you have a lot of choice, especially in third and fourth year for what you want to specialize in. So, maybe you're interested in biotech, but you're also really interested in membranes, and your ideas are all related to, membrane transport and how that works. And maybe you want to be taking these upper year biochemistry courses. Like all of our honors programs, these involve an honors project. So that means this kind of, core work in a research lab doing novel science with a faculty member on campus. So that's that red box within fourth year there. So that's the general biology and biotechnology structure. As I said, the real information is available on the Carleton academic calendar, and you are encouraged to look at that, but not be too terrified by it, because the way that that's all structured is really hard to interpret, right? So if you have questions about the structure of these programs, you should feel welcome to reach out to biology directly. The website for that, I think I can share in the chat here in case we haven't yet, or the email rather, which you can ask questions to us and we will get back to you, is biology@carleton.ca. So that's there. Any other questions coming through that we can answer live?
Does Carleton offer like a chemistry? Yeah, this one.
Other universities offer alternatives and equivalent courses in first year. Yes, but I don't know much about them. Carleton does have options. Millie, do you know about these prep courses?
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to this one quickly. So students do have to still meet those like prerequisite requirements in order to be considered for admissions. But we do have like some week-long crash course type prep courses for students interested in taking math courses in university, chemistry courses, and computer science courses. These are they're called Math Matters, Chem Matters, and Comp Matters. And they're really great to kind of refresh your memory on chemistry concepts that you'll need for first year, math concepts, that kind of thing. They're facilitated by the Science Student Success Center, and they actually have a booth here today in the services section. But in terms of prerequisites, those Math Matters courses, those Matters series can't function as prerequisites can. So I definitely recommend stopping by one of our booths with the admissions officers to chat a little bit more about exactly what the requirements look like, and they'll be able to help answer questions specific to your situation.
That's perfect. Thanks, Millie. I also in the chat just put a link there to the view book, which on page 78 has the admission requirements for a BSc. So if you're interested in that, you can click on that link and scroll down to page 78.
So I'm actually just noticing the time and I'm seeing that it's 10:45. Thank you all so much for coming and attending this presentation. As a former science student myself at Carleton, I am a huge fan of our biology department. I loved all my classes that I took. So I'm a little biased when I say that I'm a big fan of bio. If you do have any questions, we have lots of academic booths available through the little academics tab. You can also browse through some of our student services through the services tab. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to email admissions@carleton.ca. Or if your questions are specific to the biology department, Dr. McMillan put in the biology email, biology@carleton.ca, and they'll be able to help guide you there. So thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Cullingham and Dr. McMillan. I really appreciate your coming out on a Saturday morning.
Our pleasure.
Thanks, Millie.
Thanks, everybody.